And we're back, episode 36, BS with Brian Simpson. Rob, let's talk about Nope. This has been burning on your soul for a minute. By the way, I just got the limited edition 4K Blu-ray Steelbook for Nope.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
okay.
I also have the homie hooked me up with like one of those giant fucking movie posters.
Oh, sick.
So I haven't framed it or nothing like that yet, but yeah, I enjoyed Nope. I did not enjoy it when I first watched it.
Okay.
When I first saw it in the theater, because I think I was.
Well, we should let people know at the top. We're probably going to get into some pretty heavy spoilers. So if you have not seen Nope, I would recommend people see it.
Well, okay.
Brian,
well, let's talk about Nope at the end of the episode, so people can finish the episode and then decide whether they want to keep going. How about that?
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that. I was also going to say if people wanted to, they could go to this time code.
Oh yeah, that works.
Right
if you want to skip, no, but that doesn't help people. That's audio.
I'll put it in the audio too.
Okay, so if you want to, no spoilers for Nope. Just go to
28 minutes and 15 seconds.
All right, so let's get into it. Nope. Yeah, but now that I have it at home, because it was beautifully shot, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree on that.
Yeah.
I agree on that point for sure.
One of the best HDR 4K I don't know what you call them, scans that I own.
Transfers.
Yeah, transfer, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And I hear the same about Top Gun, but I didn't like that movie. So I hear Top Gun is like reference quality. Like the 4K cut, the what'd you call it? Not a scan,
transfer.
The transfer on Top Gun is supposed to be like, this is what you use to demonstrate how to use Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos and HDR, and like this is classroom type shit, right? Like that's how good it's supposed to look. But I just can't get over how much I did not enjoy that movie. Because that's the thing. It's like I don't want a collection that's just good looking movies. I mean, that's great, but if I have to really like the movie for me to go ahead and get the Steelbook.
Right.
Yeah, that shit ain't cheap. Yeah, so for me to pay extra for collector's edition shit, nah, not me. I haven't seen it though, so maybe it is beautiful. Or again, and it might be one of those movies that on second viewing I might change my opinion.
I'll probably watch Nope again. I think I texted you after I saw Nope, and I was like, man, Jordan Peele has lost it, because I feel like there's been diminishing returns since Get Out. Get Out was a crowd pleaser. I mean that movie is just super tight and just like it's just a crowd pleaser. At the end of Get Out, people in the theater were cheering, right?
Yeah.
And then Us came out, and Us I did like. I was a little bit of a defender of Us. I think people were a little too hard.
Yeah, I liked Us. I really liked Us. Yeah.
But I didn't think it was as good as Get Out for sure. And then Nope, I did not see in theater. I saw it at home, but I saw it on like our good setup. So I was very impressed with the way it was shot. They shot it in IMAX, and it looks fantastic. It's one of the best looking.
Yeah, it looks great.
Movies I've ever seen, and the sound design is absolutely incredible.
See, I look at Nope is like Jordan Peele's To Pimp a Butterfly. Now you have to I'm not gonna go into that. If you're not a Kendrick fan, then it doesn't make that much sense to you. But basically, Kendrick came out with Section 80, then Good Kid, Mad City, and then To Pimp a Butterfly was supposed to be, it was. It was a masterpiece, but it was so not what everyone was expecting. It was so different from what he originally, like what people were expecting, that I think it got knocked initially because it wasn't what people wanted. It wasn't. It was just he. Like I think if you ask him, he would say it was his most personal record. It was the album he wanted to always make. and I think Jordan Peele will say the same thing about Nope. People, it's his most personal film, and it's really what he wanted to always make. But people were from Get Out, people were expecting horror from him, of that caliber, and then Us was a little less horror, a little more something else, and
psychological thriller.
Yeah, and then Nope was even less horror and more. I don't even know what to describe it as. I guess it's more of a monster movie. It's more. I heard it compared to Jaws.
It obviously wears the influence of Jaws on its sleeve. Jaws and The Shining, which I have recently rewatched both of those.
Yeah.
So I immediately
in the sense that once they discovered the monster, they could have just left it the fuck alone. Like both movies could have ended. Both people was like, you know what? Let's just stay the fuck away from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he cribs a lot of techniques from Jaws, especially with the shots where OJ is out on the range and he's like looking around, and there's that calm before the storm with looking out over everything at night. It's that they're shooting day for night, but it's actually some of the better looking day for night that I've seen.
What do you mean day for night?
When you shoot a movie, it's very difficult to shoot at night because there's not a lot of light at night, and so the cameras do a very poor job of picking up everything. So what they'll often do is they will shoot during the day, and then they will use filters and post treatments in order to make it look like it's nighttime.
Oh, wow. I wish the guys that made Game of Thrones never discovered that technique. I feel like they just gotta give us a too dark episode every now and then.
Yeah, the way they did it for this move for Nope was really, really good. There's a couple of telltales in it though. Like for instance, when you see OJ outside and it's nighttime and he wears that baseball cap the entire time.
Right.
Like throughout the entire movie, and you can see that there's like this hard shadow over his face. And it's like, go outside at night. You don't get a hard shadow like that.
Man, you know what? You ruining it because I didn't even notice.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
I didn't even notice. Now it's going to fuck with me every time I watch it.
Well, but they do an excellent job with Day for Night in this. You can see some other movies where you can tell they just threw a blue filter over it to make it look like nighttime, and that don't work. But they did a great job in this one.
But I'll take that again over whatever the fuck Game of Thrones does. Because
they just didn't light the scene whatsoever.
I don't know if you remember if you were watching Game of Thrones at the height of its popularity, like towards the last 4 seasons. But there was an episode called The Long Night.
Sure.
And
hated that episode.
Well, everyone did. Everyone hated that episode. I mean, I'm sure maybe you hated it for thematic reasons or story reasons, but the biggest complaint was that it was hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, like I said, there's this new trend in movies where people are like, or TV where people are like, well, it's nighttime. Let's make it so the audience can't see either. Right?
Right.
Oh, and you know what? That's a headlight. Let's shine it right into the fucking camera.
Right.
Yeah. Let's trigger any epileptics that's a fan of the new Batman or whatever. So The Long Night, and everyone complained about it, and the studio's response. This is how I knew Game of Thrones had gone off the rails. The studio responded by basically just being like, "Well, most people don't have sufficiently calibrated televisions at home. It's not that we made the scene too dark. It's not that the people that's been following this for, I think at the time it was 8 years." Right, because they took a bunch of breaks and stuff like that. It took them 10. I think 7 seasons it was, but 10 years. So at this point, I think people have been 8 years in, never complained about an episode being too dark. Then there's an episode called The Long Night that's too fucking dark, and people are complaining, and their response is, well, your television ain't calibrated. See this, and that's partially true because the movie studios and TV studios, they do use like these $10,000 reference quality. Or reference monitors or whatever to color stuff. But they purposely set it dark real dark. And maybe you sitting in there with your $10,000 reference monitor, maybe it doesn't look too dark to you, but the average person doesn't even know that they can calibrate their television, let alone do they have it calibrated. I mean, what are you even talking about?
I would even say that it's their responsibility to take into account that some people are going to be watching this on an iPad. Some people are going to be watching on their phone at the gym.
Oh yeah,
some people are going to be watching.
Well,
at
that's
home.
what I was doing. I was at a show, and I had at the time we had a little watch group, and I couldn't make it to the group that night. But I didn't want nobody to spoil it because we also in the group chat to go with the watch group. So I don't want nobody to spoil it. So I'm trying to watch it on my phone before I go on stage. I'm sitting there, and it was just fucking impossible. I couldn't see shit. I'm in the handicap stall in the bathroom with the lights off, trying to see what the fuck is happening on here. And I was like, man, fuck it. I'm just gonna put my phone on do not disturb until I watch it at home. And I get home and I try to watch the shit on the TV, and I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, you just can't see it? Because at first I was like, oh, it's my phone. It doesn't go that high. Maybe it was like 1,000 nits, like peak, but it was just. I thought it was my phone. I get home, no. It was just hard to see what the fuck was happening. Now they've remastered it recently in 4K, and I watched it recently, and it's better. But now I have like one of the most expensive TVs and all of this other shit to bring out the picture quality and all of that, and it's still a little too dark. So I don't, But anyway, that's how I knew they were doomed, because they couldn't accept criticism.
I also called bullshit on that because I did watch it. This was at a time when I was still into Game of Thrones pretty hardcore, and I was excited for that episode. And so, like, you've seen 40-Year-Old Virgin, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know the part where he's like going to masturbate for the first time, and he's like turning on the lights and getting the candles lit.
Oh yeah,
that was me getting ready for the long night. And I turned it on, and I had a great setup, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Is something wrong? Do I need to I was like recalibrating my TV and everything, even though it was already calibrated properly. And I couldn't tell what was going on. And when they're flying around and all the smoke and shit, I'm like, this looks horrible.
Yeah, they and I don't know if that was before or after, right after the Starbucks cup fiasco.
I think it was right after. I could be wrong about that.
It was like, because this is what killed me about the criticism of that show, is there's so many people that dismiss the complaints as just, spoiled nerds that want things away. No. We are not the Star Wars nerds, okay? Who are the worst of the nerds in terms of your ability to reason with them? Is that fair?
Yeah, Starbucks Cup was the very next episode from Long Night, by the way.
And listen, I'm not just talking about people that love it. Okay, you got your Star Trek nerds, you got your Hobbit nerds, you got your Star Wars nerds, you got your damn Marvel nerds, you got your Game of Thrones, you got your fantasy nerds, your Game of Thrones nerds, right? Okay, and in all those communities, there's a subset of extremists. It's just like politics. It's just like every group. There's the extremists that are just hardcore about it. Just like the sports team people. It's like there's people that got season tickets, and then there's people that run the tailgate fucking shit every Sunday that have been doing it for 45 years. It's the hardcore people that have like Jets tattoos, shit like that. Those people are in every group, right? And the hardcore crazy Game of Thrones people are the least crazy of these fandom crazies, if that makes any sense. But we get dismissed like we're like Star Wars nerds that are just like, this isn't what a Wookiee looks like or whatever. No, motherfucker, it was these people.
This is Yaddle Eraser.
Yeah, they're reluctant to just admit that like it got worse over time. Because and part of that I think is just because we were all so invested, and they've really dropped the ball. I mean, listen, with House of Dragons, they picked the ball the fuck back up. No doubt about that. That shit was immaculate from one to the end. Like that's what we expect from Game of Thrones, and I thought they was gonna go all out for the last 2 seasons, or at least that last season, and they really didn't. They really took their foot off the gas, you know. And everyone knows now that they were trying to hurry up and get it done. They were trying to rush it. You know, that's why
they also ran into the same problem that every anime studio runs into, which is they outpace the manga.
Well, yeah, that's my thing there too, right? Is it's like you don't want to admit that you were fooled. So you'd rather believe that I'm just a crybaby. But I'll put it to you like this. Unless what you're saying is that the people writing for Game of Thrones, the original, unless you're telling me that they on George R.R. Martin's level, then you have to admit that the writing got worse. It's just that simple. This fantasy genius created his epic, his daggone, you know, the culmination of all his abilities.
Magnum opus.
Yeah, created his magnum opus, and they couldn't copy off his work. They couldn't keep up, and there's no shade to them. My problem was that they just won't admit it. You know, it's like, you're not as good a writer as George R.R. Martin. It's just that simple. And it showed. And I think most of us just hoped it wouldn't show that much. You know, because what it really was how much was he going to be involved and how much was he not going to be. And he was just, I think at one point, he was just tired of that shit. You know? But I wish he had been less involved in the beginning so he could go all in at the end, pick up the paces. You know, but whatever.
Right. So anyway, Nope.
Nope. So how do you feel about it? I mean, why did you need to talk about it so badly?
Well, I just texted you because I had just seen it, and I was disappointed in it because I thought it was like so close to greatness. You know what I'm talking about? When you see a movie and you can see all the pieces and how they work together, but then you're just not enjoying watching it in the moment.
Yeah.
And you're sort of like, like this is 99% there, but that 1% is just so crucial, and I'm just like, I just wasn't into it. And I get the movie. Oh, go ahead.
What did you think it was missing?
I didn't really care about the characters that much. I didn't think that their motivations were
earned.
Like, they're obvious. Yeah, they're obvious in hindsight. But I feel like Daniel Kaluuya, who plays OJ, who's like the nominal protagonist of the movie, he did a very understated performance, which I normally like, but I really didn't feel like I understood his motivation until like very much towards the end of the movie. And
I think they just wanted to get rich.
Yeah, they did just want to get rich. But go ahead.
See, I didn't like it when I first left the theater. And then a month later I watched now I'm drawing a blank. But you know, Christian Bale, American Psycho.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me. That Nope, like you have to watch Nope the way you watch that. Where it's like they aren't necessarily just characters in and of themselves. It's like commentary on the way we behave. The way that they didn't, because there's an alien species and they didn't think to like contact NASA or the government or to warn people or anything. They just wanted the clout. They wanted that picture. They wanted that video. You know,
they wanted to capture the spectacle, which is what the whole movie
right.
about.
They thought they could
control it. The whole movie's about Hollywood.
Yeah, they wanted to. They thought they could contain it. They thought that they had control over a beast. You know, or they could get control or profit from it somehow. You know, with no regard for the consequences for that. You know,
right? That's what Jupe, the Stephen Yeun character, thought too, right? He survived the attack from Gordy because of the shoe distracting him, and then also the gauzy tablecloth preventing him from making eye contact with the chimpanzee, right? And he survived because of that. So he believed that he had some sort of internal ability to connect with these predators, and in reality, he didn't. And that was his like fatal flaw.
Well, I think he also probably survived too because somebody blew the chimp's brains out at the last second.
Well, yeah, that's definitely the reason.
Yeah.
But the reason why the chimpanzee didn't just rip him apart, right? Immediately, like he did to the co-star, was because of that tablecloth was in the way. So I mean, thematically, I do understand what Jordan Peele was going for with that movie. It was so frustrating because I feel like there was just a looseness to the thematic resonance throughout all those different symbols that we see in the movie. Whereas in something like Get Out, all those thematic beats were like very closely knit into one another. And then us a little bit looser but still there. And then
you feel like you could have taken out Yu's whole story and it would have been the same movie. Or you could have taken out any other characters and it would have been the same movie.
Yeah, I mean there's definitely that aspect. I mean, like for instance, the cinematographer character is like a little bit of a goofy character in my mind.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of silly.
the only part about it. That was the only part of the movie that I hated.
Yeah.
Was like,
that being said, though, I mean, there was there's some arresting moments in that movie, like when the blood when it's like regurgitating all of the blood onto the house when they're when Angel and Emerald, I think is Keke Palmer's character's name, when they're trapped in the house and that like blood is raining down. Like that was an awesome scene when all the people get devoured, at Jupiter's, when he's trying to like feed Lucky to Jean Jacket, and and all the viewers, the audience gets like sucked up in there and they're being devoured. That was awesome. That was a great scene. You know, it might, my opinion about it might even be different if they just edited 15 minutes out of that movie and it was just faster.
So you thought it should have been less?
I think it should have been tighter, yeah. I think that it was really trying to do the expanded storytelling that you get from the two biggest obvious influences on that movie are The Shining and Jaws. Like even The Shining, the like opening credits are the same, and like the way that they have the title cards with the names of all the animals on them, that's obviously just like, that's exactly like The Shining. When The Shining is like 8 a.m. Or like Tuesday or whatever whatever the little title cards are with the times and stuff like that.
So what are you? So are you giving the movie? Are we doing 2 thumbs up? We doing 2 thumbs down? What you doing?
I'm gonna give it a. If we do stars, if we do a 5-star ranking, I'll give it 3 stars.
3, wow.
I think I'm going to give it 3 stars on the strength of a few of the key scenes and visuals in it, as well as the overall technical production aspects of the filming and sound design. I think that the script wasn't quite there for me. I think all the actors are great actors, but I don't think that these are their best performances, because I think that just as far as the characters are concerned, it wasn't quite there for me. But people should see it and they should make up their own decision about it, because I do think there's a lot of there. Because
some people absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I understand those people for sure.
Yeah, but I like a movie like that that's just completely polarizing. You know, like a lot of people felt the same way about Interstellar. I think Interstellar is one of the greatest movies of all time.
See, I feel very similar about Interstellar.
Yeah. Oh, you feel similar to me, or you feel similar that you do about Nope?
I feel similar to the way I feel about Nope, where I believe from a technical perspective.
I rebuke you, Rob. I rebuke you in the name of the Holy Spirit of films. Wow.
It's got its moments. And it's on a technical level. I believe it's a brilliant movie. But for me, the characters just weren't.
Okay, let me ask you this. How do you feel about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Love that movie.
Okay, so how do you feel about Mad Max Fury Road?
Love that movie. I mean, that I would give almost 5 stars.
You've been redeemed. To me, it's like if I was only trapped with one movie, it would be that one.
That movie's so
it was
fucking good.
So good from top to bottom, just intriguing, action, not a lot of no fluff, no fat.
Right.
I mean, the script was probably like a page. You know?
Yeah. I mean, what that does is Mad Max starts out so high octane, and then just really does not take its foot off the gas for almost the entire runtime. There's only maybe 2 or 3 moments in that movie where they like give you a chance to breathe. I feel like Jaws does that as well, although that's more of like a tension builder as opposed to, there's not a lot of action in Jaws, obviously, until the very, very end. And I feel like Nope was trying to go for the Jaws thing, the tension thing, but it didn't ratchet that tension up and keep it there for me personally throughout it. But I can definitely see how it would be very effective for other people. And so I don't think the people who loved it are morons. I would actually probably think that most of the people who hated it are stupider. Because I don't see how you could hate Nope.
It did clue us in on the forgotten history of black jockeys.
Yes, it's very true.
Yeah, because
black cowboys.
That was actually real in the beginning of Nope. Starts out with a little fun factoid. A black man on a horse was the first thing to be recorded.
That's not true.
On film.
That's not true.
That's not true.
That is not true. That was made up for the movie, although it is drawing upon.
No, because I saw this at the film museum before I saw this movie. I saw this at the film museum in L.A. I seen a nigga on a horse.
They don't know who that jockey is, and also that was not actually a film. That was one of the first animations because Muybridge, who developed that technique, used static film plates that he set up multiple cameras with static film plates and then had the jockey ride a horse through some like fishing line triggers that would hit each one of the trigger each one of the cameras in sequence. And then they took those plates and they redrew them. So it's actually a form of rotoscoping that predates rolled film.
See how far the white devil will go to rob us of heritage. Elon and Twitter.
Yes.
Here we are. We've arrived. I actually had my first viral tweet recently, and it was about how the CEO of Arizona, Ice-T, has managed to keep those cans 99 cents through all these recessions and
American hero.
He's American, right? But I didn't realize this dude has a huge fan base. Like people really responded. Like I found out his real name. I don't remember right now. But it's true. And somebody posted what you can get for $8, and like right beside it was like 8 cans of Arizona iced tea, and then 1 blue check verification or whatever. People are really upset about Elon owning Twitter now, even though I don't think he's really changed anything yet. But
I believe the new check marks are now in effect because people are already getting verified and trolling sports Twitter, which is pretty fun.
I mean, but you know what? I still have my verification from before, and I didn't.
There's 2 different verifications now. Now there's 2 names for them. I can't remember. One of them's verified, and one of them is something else. So now there's like a blue check and a white check, or they're both blue checks, or they're both white checks. I don't know. This dude's shooting from the hip, so they keep changing it from day to day.
Okay, well, I don't have strong feelings about it because, again, not to toot my own horn, but I warned that this would happen. They didn't listen to me, and here we are. And I don't know if Elon owning Twitter is going to be better or worse. I'm willing to see what's going on, because like I said, people were like upset because the day he had to buy it, people were like, oh, now racism, like all the bad shit about Twitter was already on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the previous guy didn't care about people saying nigga on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's different. It feels the same. None of my tweets have been unceremoniously, banned or marked or corrected or anything like that. So I don't know. I'm not feeling it, and I don't know anyone that is. I know a bunch of people that are upset about it, but I don't know that many people that have been like negatively affected. In fact, most of the negativity is coming from the people that's mad about it. So I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I haven't seen any like extra negativity on Twitter. That, like, it doesn't feel that way. Maybe like that first day when people were trying to like troll. But just on my everyday Twitter experience, it's still the same. It's the same. It's like it's an exact replica of the best sandwich you've ever had, and is right next to the most disgusting public toilet you've ever seen. And it's like, that's what Twitter is. Like, every day you go back, and if you're hungry enough, you just go, oh, you know what? And then when you got your fill, you look back down at where you just ate off of, and you go, oh, what was I thinking? Why do I keep coming back in here? And
it's your most embarrassing Pornhub history. Yeah,
you can't explain it to anybody. You just keep coming back because you get a little morsel sometimes. You get a little satisfaction sometimes. I want to do one or two emails here.
Sure, yeah.
Someone sent me an article. I like it when people do this. Mia Khalifa dog poop mask footage. What? Oh, maybe we probably. I have to review that one before we do that one on the thing. Okay, someone else sent me an article. Another YouTube video. Man tased by police catches on fire. All right, let's check that out. Some content may be disturbing. Yeah, no.
A man tased by police officers was engulfed by fire. Arkansas State Police have released dashcam video of the October 13th incident. Police say a trooper attempted to pull over a man on a motorcycle who was allegedly driving without a state license plate.
He's on foot. He crashed out.
A trooper ran after the motorcyclist and pulled out his taser.
He's on foot. He crashed out. Allen and Sanders Street.
Flames erupted after the taser was fired. Authorities say the backpack the motorcyclist was wearing contained about a gallon of gasoline. The man followed the advice to stop, drop, and roll, just as the troopers on the scene came to extinguish the blaze. Police say they administered first aid on the scene. The man is in the hospital and is expected to recover, but he will be facing felony fleeing, among other charges.
See, that's the wild shit to me. So we played that for everybody, right?
Yeah.
See, this is my issue. I feel like, look, if a minor traffic violation, okay, he had gasoline in his backpack. Like, that sounds made up, but it's so ridiculous. Why are you? All right, whatever. So you have a backpack full of gasoline for some reason, and you're running from the police for some other reason. But still, I feel like if no one else got hurt, and a minor traffic violation lead to you being on fire, when you get out the hospital, they shouldn't charge you with nothing else. Because recovering from those, like, you ever talk to a burn victim? Recovering from a burn, from like full body burns, that shit ain't no joke, man. You got to be. You in for it. You in for it. Like, if it happens to somebody that's too old, I think if you're over a certain age, you can't. It's a wrap, because you wouldn't even survive the treatment the way they got to keep like scraping off the skin and bruh. Like, it ain't no motherfucking joke, bruh. It really ain't. So I feel like, if you went from riding your motorcycle, running from the cops, to like full body burns, I feel like they shouldn't charge you with running from the cops when you get like that dude ain't gonna be. He's not gonna be out the hospital for like another year, probably.
What injuries did he sustain? Because if he was wearing leathers or something, maybe he's got a shot.
Well, they didn't say the extent of his injuries in that video, but they say he's in the hospital and expected to recover. But it took him a long time to stop, drop, and roll. Took him a long time to do that. Yeah, and and if you got first degree burns, over large swaths of your body, I'm telling y'all because I remember listening to that when I was in the corporate world, and they made us watch like a OSHA safety video or whatever, and it was a guy that worked at Exxon or one of the major oil companies. And he tells his story about him catching on fire because he forgot to do something, or he was lazy about something, some safety thing, and he caught on fire. And just to listen to him talk about recovering from it, I'm trying to tell y'all some good shit. That's enough punishment. It really is. It really is. Because I think it's weird. It's weird for us as a society to be like, no, you have to do the punishment that we made up. You can't just, all that other shit don't count. It's like, yeah, but my whole body is not normal from now forward, and I basically just been tortured for 6 months, so I can look not even close to how I used to. You got to charge me with evading arrest? Like, really? Because this is what I'm saying. I'm saying if the result of your crime is worse for you than you actually getting pulled over, like you actually like facing the actual penalty for your crime, maybe we should let you slide. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if no one else was harmed, because all that happened is he ran from the cops and he got set on fire. None of the cops were injured.
Right.
Nothing else happened. And now he's just burned. He's a burn victim. And then, but when he gets out of the hospital, he's going to get charged with felony evasion. It's like, wow, so then you got to go to prison after that? I don't know. Maybe I'm being, maybe I'm missing something. I'm sure we have some fucking bootlickers in the comments that's going to have something to say about it. But, ugh.
He endangered everybody by bursting into flames.
Yeah, I just, like, isn't it some kind of, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's some kind of compassionate sentencing or compassionate release or something, because that don't make sense. It don't make sense to me.
How did the taser explode his backpack?
It probably hit the gas. But
okay, you got a gallon of gasoline in your backpack. What was it in that the spark from a taser exploded it?
It probably went through the gas can, the taser, because they got those little sharp prongs that like stick in your skin.
So maybe if it was like a metal, because I'm thinking of like one of those plastic gallon tanks. No, you're saying it's like maybe a metal gas can.
No, even if it was a plastic one.
You think the spark is strong enough?
Oh yeah,
from a taser.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how strong tasers are.
I mean, it wouldn't take anything at all. It wouldn't take much.
Really?
No, it wouldn't take much at all. If both of those prongs went into a gallon of gas and went off.
Oh, you're saying that you think the prongs like pierced the gas tank.
Yes.
And then there was an arc between the two of them in the gasoline. I see what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
That's
I was imagining Yeah.
It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, man, that's a bad bounce for that dude.
Yeah, because not only were you running from the cops with a gallon of gas, which that still needs to be explained to me, why he has gas in his backpack. But then it's also on top of that, it's one of those what are the chances type of deals.
Right.
And then when you get out of the hospital, you still got to go to jail. Damn, man.
Yeah, man. I think you should get time served for when you're in jail.
I mean, that's heartless. That's heartless. Okay. All right. Well, that's a good one. Let's hit a news story real fast.
All right. I also got something. I also got a little treat for
the listeners.
For the listeners, after this.
A treat for the listeners. Are we doing a giveaway?
Yeah, no. No. I just a suggestion from somebody who watches. Because I don't know if you know this, Brian, but the largest source of our subscribers, I believe, are people who watch the shorts. And the shorts that perform the best are the ones where you say some controversial things.
Oh, no.
So I have some questions here for you, but we'll do it after one of these articles.
Okay. Well, I guess that's me now. I'm hot take B. Hot take Brian. Okay, so this headline says, pulled from the Gulf of Mexico after 24 hours, 3 men survived turbulent waters and shark bites. For 3 men who went missing after an offshore fishing trip near Empire on Saturday, the odds weren't good, according to Scott Talbot, 8th Coast Guard District Search and Rescue Specialist. Talbot put the boaters' chance of surviving in the Gulf for 24 hours at no better than 15%, and that's if they were wearing life vests. They were, but what Talbot didn't know when he got involved with the search was that the men were basically punching and fighting off sharks in choppy waters that have seen an influx of the apex predators in recent years. We have a shark problem in the Gulf. Imagine having a shark problem. They're getting more and more aggressive, and they're hungry. The men's against all odds survival, along with a clue that led search teams 25 miles from shore to the waters where the exhausted shark-bitten men were found, made for what Talbot described as one of the unlikeliest rescues he's ever seen. So wait a minute, these dudes was just, I mean, what do they mean shark-bitten? Like these sharks were nibbling on these guys?
I think they were, it says shark attack. Bull and black tip belong to the same federally protected species group as hammerhead sharks. Both are common in the Gulf of Mexico.
It says the 3 men were ages 39, 41, and 43. Ooh, that's my average. That's my age range. They set out Saturday morning in a 24-foot center console boat to fish around. See, that's where you lost me. I don't participate in those activities.
They were being attacked by these sharks, and they were getting bites on so the fear was that as they were getting bites on their hands, which they did, they had bites on their hands and arms, that the blood was attracting larger predators. Yeah. By
the way, I'm more against Saturday morning activities and not necessarily going out on a boat. Yeah, this is crazy. It doesn't say their names though.
No, it doesn't. I think we could probably find it somewhere else, but it doesn't fucking matter.
Okay, well,
they're just a couple of a few weekend warriors doing a little fishing, and they got pulled out to sea.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then imagine if they pulled the guys out the water and they were like, "Oh man, yeah, we found a piece of the hull of that boat, you know." And there was unfortunately there was cocaine in there, so.
Oh, I lost you.
Yeah. Well, after y'all recover from these shark bites, I'm about to charge you guys to trafficking.
Oh,
you know.
I lost you for a second there, but I caught the very end of that.
I said, imagine if the cops were like, yeah, we found the rest of the boat, and there was actually cocaine in there. So after y'all recover from these shark bites, yeah, we're going to hit y'all with this RICO Act. Yeah. It's like that's That's who we are now. That's who we are.
Would you rather burst into flames before being arrested or be attacked by sharks before being arrested?
I'd rather be attacked by sharks. Yeah.
Fair enough.
If I got to choose between, if those are the two choices, yeah. Because on fire ain't no joke. On fire, like a shark, you at least got a chance to come out with minimal damage. But if you burst into flames like that, you're damaged. You know? Yeah, there's no, unless you can put them out instantly, like unless you burst into flames on your way, like in the middle of a dive into the water, you burst into flames. But yeah, I feel like the burst into flames is going to be permanent damage everywhere. And like I said, the recovery ain't no motherfucking joke. A shark, you know, like these dudes, they survive for 3 days fucking with these sharks.
Facts.
You know, you burst into flames, you know, you got about, 15 seconds to do something about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop, drop, and roll, baby. You got to. Yeah. Okay. So let's do one.
All right.
What was the surprise for the listener?
So I have discovered a website called philosophyexperiments.com. This is sent to me by Nick, who I know personally, but he watches the show, and he was interested in the philosophical conundrums that we have been discussing. This is a website where they have philosophy and morality questionnaires that are designed by PhD students. And so I thought it might be interesting to go through some of these with you. Are you interested in that?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So this one is 19 questions, but they're short, and I'll probably edit out any of them that are boring. But so here we go. Question 1. You pass someone in the street who is in severe need, and you are able to help them at little cost to yourself. Are you morally obliged to do so? And the options are strongly obliged, weakly obliged, not obliged.
Strongly obliged.
Strongly obliged. Question 2. You have a brother. You know that someone has been seriously injured as a result of criminal activity undertaken by him. You live in a country where the police and legal system are generally trustworthy. Are you morally obliged to inform them about your brother's crime? Strongly obliged, weakly obliged, not obliged.
Weakly obliged.
Why weakly obliged? Talk me through it.
Because, you know, it's to me, it's like, it's to a lesser degree, the whole Fifth Amendment thing, where like, I think it's the Fifth Amendment where you're not obliged to incriminate yourself, but also your spouse. You're not obliged to testify against your spouse either, right?
Correct. You cannot be forced to testify against your spouse.
Right. So I think technically, to a much lesser degree, I understand the loyalty to your family as well. You know, so that's a tough one. But
they're gonna get tougher.
Yeah, I wouldn't testify against my brother. No.
Okay.
No.
But would you turn him in?
No.
Okay. Question 3. Do you think that assisting the suicide of someone who wants to
die...
wait
a minute. Because we have to be more specific. Is this asking me what I would do or what one ought to do?
I believe it's trying to map out your moral or ethical principles or draw lines around the decisions that you think are appropriate. Not necessarily for you personally, because you could still answer the question even if you didn't have a brother.
Right? But also what I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are my answers what I would do or what I think is right? Because sometimes it's like I know it's morally right, but I would not do that thing. You know, like the turning. Like I know that it's like I think it's morally right to turn in your brother, but I wouldn't do that.
Interesting.
So is it?
I think that when we talk about moral obligation, then So are you saying that you should turn your brother in, but you just wouldn't?
Right.
I think that's
like that's the right thing to do.
Right.
But I don't think I could do it. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I mean, no, but see, that depends on the crime. That depends on what he was doing.
Yeah.
Because you're saying he did a crime that caused someone harm.
Right.
But you didn't say, I mean, the thing, yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? If he fucking, blew up a building, yeah, I would turn him in.
Okay.
Like if he did something that made me be like, oh, he lost his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would turn him in. But if it was like, oh, he trying to survive out here like everybody else, he sold that crack, or he, was in some fucking thing, or he was running like scams or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess it would have to depend. It would have to depend on the crime for sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Question 3, do you think that assisting the suicide of someone who wants to die and has requested help is morally equivalent to allowing them to die by withholding medical assistance, assuming that the level of suffering turns out to be identical in both cases?
Do I think that assisting someone with suicide that wants to die from terminal illness is morally equivalent to allowing them to die
by withholding medical assistance? So think the distinction that they're making
they're not.
here,
No, they're not morally equivalent. No.
Okay. Why not?
Well, because one takes away someone's agency and the other one empowers them. I mean, if somebody want to die, I mean, those are the two key differences to me. Like the suffering is equal.
Mm-hmm.
One of these motherfuckers want to go, and the other one don't.
Okay.
No,
Fair
I don't think they're morally equivalent. No. Now, again, I think you could get into the specifics of the situation, because doctors have to withhold medical shit all the time, right? Because it's like,
sure, yeah,
this person's gonna, like, especially like in a in a situation where there's mass injuries,
a triage situation.
Yeah, and it's like, well, this person's gonna die, so we don't have time to fucking try to keep them alive. They're gonna die. Like their 5% chance of survival, that's nothing to his 50. So let's put all our resources in this one. I mean, doctors have to do that all the time.
Yeah.
But
limited resources.
Yeah, but you're talking about just two people that are terminally ill and one wants to die. That's the differentiating factor for me. It's like they want to die. And they're of sound mind and body, and they tired. That's not the same thing as you going, I think you should die,
Right.
Yeah, that if they're not part of the decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Question 4, you are able to help some people, but unfortunately you can only do so by harming other people. The number of people harmed will always be 10% of those helped. When considering whether it is morally justified to help, does the actual number of people involved make any difference? For example, does it make a difference if you are helping 10 people by harming one person rather than helping 100,000 people by harming 10,000 people? So in this case, the ratios are identical, but the numbers are orders of magnitude different. Does that make a difference?
For me, it doesn't. Yeah, harm away. Yeah. And listen, I know that's easy for me to say, because you know what? This goes back to the Derek Poston episode of the Thanos snap, right? It's like, did he include himself? Are you if you are including yourself in the people that could possibly be harmed, then I see no moral problem. But it was like, oh yeah, I'm, every time I hurt 10,000 people, I help 100,000. But me and none of the people I love could possibly be one of those 10,000 people. Well, now that your intellectual consistency falls apart there. Yeah.
Question 5. You own an unoccupied property. You are contacted by a refugee group which desperately needs somewhere to house a person seeking asylum who is being unjustly persecuted in a foreign country. Your anonymity is assured. You have every reason to believe that no harm will come to your property. Are you morally obliged to allow them to use your property?
Hell
Strongly
no.
obliged.
All my help is for American citizens only. Fuck out of here with your refugee shit. Don't you know who we are? No.
All right, I'm going to click not obliged.
Yeah, no, I'm obliged. Yeah, I think you are, yeah.
Okay. Question 6. A charity collection takes place in your office. For every $10 given, a blind person's sight is restored. Instead of donating $10, you use the money to treat yourself to a cocktail after work. Are you morally responsible for the continued blindness of the person who would have been treated had you made the donation?
Yes.
All right. Question 7. Someone you have never met needs a kidney transplant. You are one of the few people who can provide the kidney. Would any moral obligation to provide the kidney be greater if this person were a cousin rather than a non-relative?
Yes. I was actually in this situation.
Whoa, tell me about that.
I told you I was, and what's funny is I had written a report about it in college after this. But this was years ago when I worked at the Pentagon. But I was contacted. I had given blood years before, and I was a match for someone that needed, I think, bone marrow.
Oh, wow.
But the problem...
Oh, I remember. Okay, I do remember you telling me about this. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is because legally you're not allowed to be compensated in any way for your organs. Because that presents its own moral problems.
Absolutely.
They are not allowed to promise you anything, even within reason. So the only reason I didn't, all they told me was I know it was a lady and I know how old she was. And that's all they would tell me. But then I was like, well, what if something goes wrong and I have to be hospitalized? Nope, you're on your own.
Whoa.
And I was like, well, then I'm not doing that. I didn't do it. I didn't help her. And I think at the time I was probably 25 or 26. And I think this lady was damn near 60. And that's all I knew. But I also was like, okay, yeah, because keep in mind, I got to take off work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was going to be at least 3 weeks or 4 weeks of me not being at work, probably much more than that. And because I definitely wasn't going to be able to walk for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then if something went wrong, so they're not compensating me for that time I'm taking off work, by the way.
Right.
And if something goes wrong, I got to pay off all the medical expenses on my own. So it was like that. Well, obviously I'm not helping this lady. Now, had that lady been, a relative, and when I say relative, I'm talking about 2 steps removed. None of this great, nah, one great.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking like I'm helping, brothers, sisters, some aunties, some uncles.
First cousin?
It depends. It depends. Like us simply being related don't mean shit. Like I gotta have grew up with you.
Right.
Yeah. But you
well,
just.
Let me ask you this. Should you be able to be compensated for giving an organ or giving bone marrow or giving?
Well, that's a tough one because because like I said, if you could be compensated for it,
mm-hmm.
which there are countries where you can be,
mm-hmm.
What would end up happening is it would in a way pressure the poorest people to sell their organs.
Right.
So, and so there's moral shit with that, right? Because it's legal in like India or whatever to
mm-hmm.
sell your organs. And it's all the poor people selling their organs or, people having their organs taken, and then giving money, but so it puts the poorest people in a bind if you can just sell a kidney, right? Now
right.
you can sell You can sell stuff that's like reproducible or that's abundant. Like you can sell your eggs, you can sell your sperm.
You can sell your plasma.
You can sell your plasma, you can sell your hair. But you can't sell your kidney, you can't sell a lung, you can't promise a heart to somebody in your will. Well, none of that shit. It's got to be on the list. Now here's the but the other side to that is like put me in the situation I was in where now only the richest people can say yes because so that reduces the number that's available. I mean that hurts more people. And then the other side of it is there are religions that don't allow them to give blood or give organs.
Right.
But they are allowed to receive them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's certain religions, I want to say it was either Jehovah's Witnesses or Christian Scientists. Well, I forget what they call themselves. I think they call themselves Christian Scientists. But one of these religions were like, it's very strictly forbidden for them to give blood or give any organs. It has something to do with like them having to die whole or something. It may even be the Mormons too. But something about them having to die whole. Like they have to have all of their shit. They can't just give away parts of their body.
Wow.
And but if one of them is in the hospital and needs a damn liver, they more than happy to receive some. And then there's some religions. So I'm mixing up these three, but it's in here. Like the Christian Scientists, Mormons, and Jehovah's Witnesses. It's like one isn't allowed to give, but is allowed to receive. But then there's some that ain't allowed to receive. So like even if a blood transfusion would like save your life, you can't have it.
That sounds like Christian Science to me.
Yeah, it might be them. Yeah, and they may have changed this since I wrote this paper. This was a long time ago, so they may have changed it since then. Who knows how religions work or whatever? But that was one of the moral questions I had to answer. Where it was like, what I've come up with is I think we would just solve a lot of these problems if organ donation was opt out instead of opt in.
Yes.
Did we talk about this last week?
I think we've talked about this before.
Okay.
That it should be. I agree that it should be opt out because in the places where it is opt out, like I believe in Israel, it's opt out instead of opt in, and they do not have organ shortages to the same degree that we do. Because lots of people die. Lots of people die on those waiting lists.
Yeah, and because that's the other thing. It's like, you're on the waiting list for the chance for them to ask a motherfucker. It's like that person still has to say yes, which they probably aren't going to do because most people can't afford to fucking take weeks off work. So you okay? That don't make sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I might die too. Fuck that. Yeah. So I don't know if there's an easy answer, but I think that having to be opt out is a good step towards that. And I think maybe a couple states are opt out, but federally we're not.
Opt out organ donation.
Probably states. Oregon. No?
Fuck you.
No?
Fuck you. Well, we're at an hour, so I think we're gonna leave people hanging.
Wait a minute, did I not finish the morality quiz?
You did not. We're about halfway through, bro.
No, finish it. Let's finish it.
We're gonna burn through it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You can save the lives of 1,000 patients by canceling 100 operations that would have saved the lives of 100 different patients. Are you morally obliged to do so?
Yes.
Question 9. Are your moral obligations to people in your own country or community stronger than those to people in other countries and communities, assuming no unusual circumstances? For example, suffering because of famine. Yes.
Yes.
Question 10. You deliberately sabotage a piece of machinery in your workplace so that when someone next uses it, there will be an accident, which will result in that person losing the use of their legs. Are you morally responsible for their injury?
Yes. What? Where's the conundrum there?
Well, some people have a very strong... Some libertarians have a very strong opinion about that where they say, no, I'm not morally responsible for that because the onus is on the person using the equipment to inspect it beforehand, that they are taking on the risk of bodily injury when they use that equipment. I don't agree with. I think those people are lunatics.
Yeah, but you just set a booby trap. Sure, listen, I'm all about, because I go back to like gun safety, like treat every weapon as if it was loaded, that kind of thing. But I think once you are aware of the consequences of your action and you take that action anyway, you're responsible for the consequences. So
you would say that you are,
like if you accidentally set up the machine in that way and then somebody lost their legs, you're not responsible for that. But if you purposely set up the machine to hurt somebody, knowing that the average person isn't going to check, right? So that's
what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's the thing.
What if it's an accident, but it's a reasonably foreseeable outcome of your actions?
No, because I think because it doesn't even have to be that light. Like this seems like I'm changing the subject, but it's the same reason I'm against mail-in rebates.
Okay.
It's because sure, it's your responsibility to mail in your rebate. But the company giving you the mail-in rebate, they know 90% of people ain't gonna do that.
Yes.
It's just like it's your responsibility to read the terms of service. But the companies that throw you that word salad, they know that 99% of people aren't gonna do that. So they're taking advantage of what they know to be human behavior. So yeah, you're still responsible to me. Like you're trying to fool me into doing a thing so you don't have to take responsibility for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're responsible for me not being able to walk, motherfucker. I tell you what, do that to a nigga, and then let him know that you set up the machine that way, and see how he react to you.
Well, good luck trying to catch me with your legs all mangled up from that machine.
Right.
Question 11. You know the identity of someone who has committed a serious crime resulting in a person being badly injured. Are you morally obliged to reveal their identity to an appropriate authority so that they are dealt with justly? And the options are strongly obliged, weakly obliged, or not obliged.
Weakly obliged.
Okay. Question 12. You can save the lives of 10 innocent people by killing one other innocent person. Are you morally obliged to do so? Yes or no?
Yes.
Question 13. You see a charity advertisement in a newspaper about a person in severe need in Australia. There is no state welfare available to this person, but you can help them at little cost to yourself. You have good reason to believe that any help you offer will make a difference. Are you morally obliged to help the person? Strongly, weakly, not obliged.
Weakly.
Question 14. You are required to send...
That's not because they're far away. It's because they're Australian. All right, go ahead.
Okay. You are required to send a person a gift, and you have bought a bottle of drink. This is a British thing. Bottle of drink to send to them. However, you discover it is poison, and if consumed, will cause blindness in the drinker. To replace it with a non-contaminated bottle will cost you $10. You give the poisoned drink as a gift anyway. Are you morally responsible for the blindness of the drinker? And the options are responsible, partly responsible, not responsible.
What the fuck kind of question is this? You gave somebody a poison drink. Are you responsible for them being poisoned? Yes. Yes.
Question 15. A situation arises where you can either save your own child from death or contact the emergency services in order to save the lives of 10 other children. You cannot do both, and there is no way to save everybody. Which course of action are you morally obliged to follow? And the options are save your own child or save 10 other children.
God damn.
This formulation is always the hardest one.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're definitely morally obliged to save the 10 other children. But I would totally understand if you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why every dope movie, every dope like cop movie starts out with the chief being like, "You're off the fucking case. You're too close to this."
Yep.
Yeah, because you can't expect somebody to make an unbiased decision in that situation. So, yeah, save the 10 kids.
All right. Home stretch now. Question 16. You can save the lives of 10 patients by canceling one operation which would have saved the life of a different patient. Are you morally obliged to do so?
Say that again.
You can save the lives of 10 patients by canceling one operation which would have saved the life of a different patient.
Did we do this question already?
Well, it's slightly different, but I think that because I think it was reversed before, where it was like, wasn't it 10 and 100 or something like that?
Yeah, but save the most people. Yeah.
Okay. I already did this one.
I feel like at the end of this, they're gonna call me a psychopath.
All right. This is where they slightly change it, right? So you become aware that a piece of machinery in your workplace is faulty, and that if it is not repaired, then there will soon be an accident which will result in someone losing the use of their legs. Despite knowing that nobody else is aware of the fault, you take no action. Shortly afterwards, the accident occurs, and someone does lose the use of their legs. Are you morally responsible for their injury?
Yes.
And the option, okay. You can save the lives of 1 million innocent people by killing 100,000 others. Are you morally obliged to do so?
Yes.
Let's see, male.
It's like, would you burn down Albuquerque to save Los Angeles? Yes.
Your moral parsimony score is 83%. What does this mean?
I don't know.
Moral frameworks can be more or less parsimonious. That is to say, they can employ a wide range of principles which vary in their application according to circumstances. Less parsimonious, or they can employ a small range of principles which apply across a wide range of circumstances without modification. More parsimonious. An example might make this clear. Let's assume that we are committed to the principle that it is good to reduce suffering. The test of moral parsimony is to see whether this principle is applied simply and without modification or qualification in a number of different circumstances. Supposing, for example, we find that in otherwise identical circumstances, the principle is applied differently if the suffering person is from a different country to our own, hence why they do all the different, slightly different questions. This suggests a lack of moral parsimony, which, because a factor which could be taken to be morally irrelevant in an alternative moral framework is here taken to be morally relevant. How to interpret your score? The higher your percentage score, the more parsimonious your moral framework. In other words, a high score is suggestive of a moral framework that comprises a minimal number of moral principles that apply across a range of circumstances and acts. What is a high score? As a rule of thumb, any score above 75% should be considered indicative of a parsimonious moral framework. You have a parsimonious moral framework, Brian.
But I'm still not sure if that's a good thing.
Well, it says here, moral parsimony, good or bad. It says we make no judgment about whether moral parsimony is a good or bad thing. Some people will think that on balance it is a good thing, and that we should strive to minimize the number of moral principles that form our moral frameworks. Others will suspect that moral parsimony is likely to render moral frameworks simplistic, and that an overly parsimonious moral framework will leave us unable to deal with the complexity of real circumstances and acts. We'll leave it up to you to decide who is right. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I'm comfortable with 83. 83 was it?
83%.
I'm comfortable with 83% parsimoniousness. Parsimonious. Parsimony. I'm comfortable with 83 parsimony just because, it shows intellectual consistency without being an absolutist. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm flawed,
They also break it down according to, they have an analysis across 4 different categories. Those categories are geographical distance, which is the impact of geographical distance on the application of moral principles. The idea here is to determine whether moral principles are applied equally when dealing with sets of circumstances and acts that differ only in their geographical location in relation to the person making the judgment.
I think that's just being human. Of like, the distance between you and a tragedy determines. I mean, obviously there's circumstances that change that. You know what I mean? If you had some kind of connection to the people before they were in that other place,
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like if we send a team of people to explore Mars, and they die tragically, you know, we're all gonna feel that sadness because it, you know, before they left, you know, we're being told these are pioneers and these are the heroes, right? But once they've settled on Mars, right, and it's been 100 years and people are used to the idea of there being Martians, and then, you know, some plant explodes over there and 1,000 people die, you'll feel nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's millions of miles away. It's the same thing. It's like once you're used to like when anything tragic happens in the world, the only time we hear about it in America is if some Americans got hurt.
Right. Plane can go down with 200 people on it, and unless there's one American on it, nobody hears anything about it.
Nobody here does. You know,
that's what I mean.
It's like now, you know, obviously again, there's different shit. Like it's got to be a shitload of people dying, or it's got to be able to affect, like Chernobyl. I mean, not Chernobyl. Fukushima. Remember Fukushima?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just Japanese people died, but that radiation in the water, it's in the air. So we heard about it for like a couple weeks.
Did you hear about the people who cleaned it up?
No.
They recruited Japanese people over the age of 80 to go do the cleanup because they were old enough that the radiation, even though it increased their chances of cancer, they weren't going to be around long enough for those rates to really rise. So a lot of older Japanese people, in order to prevent the younger generations from getting sick, they risk their own lives to go do the cleanup on the radiation.
Any of them still alive?
Yeah.
What'd they give them?
What do you mean what'd they give them?
They ain't get these motherfuckers like a sushi pass or something like free sushi till you die or something?
They each got their very own Pokemon. No, I don't know if they gave them anything. I think it was like, I don't want to say it was volunteer work, but I don't think they.
But nothing useless, like a certificate or a medal or nothing.
I bet you they did give him something to that degree.
Yeah, give me but the certificate's radioactive, so who knows? No chemo. I'm just kidding. No, you don't get chemo if you. Yeah. So I don't know. Okay, wait a minute. Before we slide out, what was your score, Rob? How parsimonious was your shit?
Mine was lower than yours. I don't remember exactly what it was. I believe I should just take it again. It won't take me very long. But I was like about average. I think the difference between us is I probably care more about the act omission distinction than you do.
Was what the act omission?
So the idea that allowing something to happen is morally equivalent to causing it to happen yourself, because the suffering that might arise from that act or that omission is the same, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the test is flawed in that way.
All of these tests are flawed, for sure.
Yeah.
All of these tests are flawed. And you know, I took another one where it was basically you're playing the role of an AI, like a self-driving car, you know, and each of the questions is the car is heading into an intersection and the brakes are out, and it can either like keep going and run over the people in the crosswalk, or it can, like, you know, there's different permutations of it, but it can swerve and run over a bunch of pets, or it can swerve and run into a pylon and kill everybody in the car. It can keep going and the people in the car will be safe, but it's going to run over the people in the crosswalk. And it's all these different permutations on that, right? And from doing that one, I definitely am, my moral intuitions are much more that an act has more moral culpability than refraining from acting, in my mind. You know, allowing something bad to happen that you could have stopped is not, to me, as bad as causing the actual thing to happen through your action.
See, that it's weird how we both approach each question, because you know what it is. The first thing I think about when you ask me each question, the first thing I think about is how I'm going to feel about myself after.
Yeah.
And even though I won't, like, not acting, even though I don't think not acting is as bad as acting, like, let me rephrase that. Even though I don't think actively doing something that causes harm is the same as not acting and allowing harm, I would feel like a piece of shit either way.
Right.
You know, it's the reason why I can't snitch on my brother, even though I know I morally should.
Right.
It's because of who I'm going to be afterwards. I'm not going to be able to live with that person.
Right.
You know, so maybe that's selfish in and of itself. It's like I'm putting my own, because I have to live with me. You know, even if I did the fucked up thing and like escape to a fortress of solitude, it's like I still got to be that person with me.
Right.
You know, so that's how I'm looking at it. And that's why I think the test is flawed, is because it doesn't allow to. I think both things make you're responsible either way. I just think you're more responsible for the action rather than the inaction.
Yeah, and I think most people, just their moral intuitions do make a distinction between the two, because, you know, we also make distinctions between things like attempted murder and murder, right? Or you know, an assault that causes an injury versus criminal negligence.
No, but okay. So wait a minute. So let me ask you this. No, now I'm thinking about it more. I'm changing my mind. Because not acting in some ways can be worse.
It can. Yep.
Depending on the outcome, right? So let me ask you this. Here's a thought experiment. Say you've had the cure for COVID this whole time.
Yeah.
And you just decided not to tell anyone.
Oh, I think that's go ahead.
Are you just as responsible as the guy that released it from the lab in Wuhan?
Now you're gonna get us. Now you're gonna get us taken off of YouTube.
No.
no. I know what you're saying.
Are you just as so let's just say, are you just as responsible as a person that like invented a virus, and so just let's say it's not COVID. Let's just say it's some other deadly virus that was spreading around the globe, and you you decided just to just not give the cure to anyone. Are you? I would say you're probably even more responsible than the person that released it.
You definitely have significant moral responsibility for that, and I would consider that to be evil, immoral, whatever terminology you want to use for it. That you did that, or that you withheld the cure in that case. Or
say something even worse. Say someone planted a bomb, a nuclear bomb in the middle of a major city.
Sure.
And you not only know who did it, but you know how they did it, and you're the only one that can disarm the bomb. But instead, you decide to just leave town. Now, they haven't technically harmed anyone yet. You know, and then the bomb goes off. Aren't you at least equally responsible for the deaths?
I don't know if I'm equally responsible, but I'm definitely at least partially responsible.
Are you going to feel guilty?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would definitely feel guilty about that. If I could have, I think those questions are fairly easy when it is a de minimis risk or effort on your part.
I know, y'all. What the fuck does de minimis mean, Rob?
Minimal amount.
Okay.
Right. So for instance, like one of the examples that people often use is you're walking down the street and you see a small child face down in a puddle, drowning.
So de minimis is two words. So because this is Latin, this is this legal shit. too trivial or minor to merit consideration, especially in law. Okay.
Yeah.
So little shit, short shit.
Little shit. So for instance, one of the examples that they use for a lot of these like Good Samaritan type concepts, right? Where you're walking down the street and you see somebody in trouble, and the question is whether you're morally obligated to help them, right? And so one of the examples they'll give is you're walking down the street and you see a small child face down in a puddle. They can't get out of the puddle and they're drowning, and are you morally obligated to help them? I would say yes, you are, but in that situation, there's very little risk to you. It's a de minimis amount of effort on your part to just walk over, lift up a child, and pull them out of the water. Right?
But are you legally required to help?
In most places, no, you're not.
Wow.
In most places, you're not. Now, I think that the question becomes more difficult when you start factoring in things like, well, the child's drowning and you're not a very good swimmer, so you have to risk your own life to go get them. Right. That's a little bit more difficult to answer. Now, what if you add a shark?
Or you're wearing the new Yeezys.
There you go.
And you just paid $1,500 for these shoes.
Yeah.
And they're future proof. So like these will be stylish in the year 3020.
Well, but if you have Yeezys on, then you're obviously an anti-Semite. So maybe your life is forfeit already.
Yeah. So who knows? So yeah, you're right. I guess the question gets more when there's a danger to you, that complicates things.
Right.
Or when you add in love.
Right.
That complicates things.
I also think that you can rely on, like for instance, with the question about whether saving your own child or 10 other children who are strangers to you, right? Yeah, obviously that's difficult, but I think you got to save your own kid.
Well, here's the other thing too. Here's the other thing these questions don't factor in is that we don't know nothing about none of these people,
Right, they're all hypotheticals.
Like it might be my kid, but my kid might be a real piece of shit.
Your kid's wearing Yeezys and is an anti-Semite.
Right, my kid is anti-Semitic and wearing Yeezys, watching the wrong documentaries.
I think. Okay.
But also you don't know anything about any of the people you're saving.
Right.
What if Hitler's in those 1,000 people that like you kill 100 people to save 1,000, but Hitler's in the 1,000.
Right.
Right. So it's like so saving those 1,000 could potentially kill millions.
I think the more interesting thing is so take that same example with the save your child instead of 10 strangers who are children. I think that in that case, I would save my own child. And I can rationalize that by saying, look, I have a duty to these other children because I'm a human being. They're human beings. You have duties to other people, especially a child who can't protect themselves necessarily. But I also have an additional duty to my own child as their parent. I have something that goes beyond just the duty that I owe to a stranger by virtue of I'm responsible for their safety. But then the question becomes, okay, it's your child or it's 100 children. It's your child or it's 1,000 children. It's your child or it's 1,000,000. Some people are going to say, I don't care if it's 100 billion children. I'm going to save my own kid. Well, yeah, but other people have a line.
But some people are like, okay, it's your child or every other person on earth.
And some people will still pick their child.
Some people will still pick their child. Now
it's hard, man.
Not for me. Not for me. I mean, at some point, it's like, hey, yeah, you got to toss the baby in a volcano. It's gonna be every other person on Earth. Come on, man.
Yeah, but where do you draw the line? Is it 1,000? Okay, what about 1,001? What about 1,002?
I'm not sure what that number is if I really had to think about it, but I know. I think it's easier if you start at everybody and work your way back. So everybody, I'm picking everybody.
Fair enough.
If it's half the people on Earth, I'm picking half the people. If it's a quarter of the people on Earth, I'm picking a quarter of the people on Earth. About a tenth, that's when it starts getting a little muddy for me. A tenth of the people on Earth, especially if I can swing it so that tenth are like the worst people. No, not the worst people, the dumbest people. If I could just, if it was just the dumbest people on earth, I would pick my kid.
That's another way that they twist the question to make it more difficult. Is it's all right, it's your kid or a million people, and you go, I gotta go with the million people, and they go, yeah, but 50% of them are Nazis. Yep.
A million ain't enough. A million ain't enough.
A million's not enough?
No. I'm picking my kid over any million people.
What I think is hilarious about all these hypotheticals too is that
I got a question. What if it's your people? So
Okay.
it's your kid or every other person in your race?
I mean, the world probably be better without all the white people. So I'll tell you.
Yeah, but that's you. That's everybody. That's everybody. That's
true.
your mom, your dad. That's everybody you love. All that. It's all gone. That's an interesting question for the crowd. Respond in the comments. Tell me, would you pick your kid, who's like the best kid, the cutest kid? They remind you of you. So much potential. Like the best kind of kid.
They're old enough that they're into cool shit, but they're not old enough to like give you a hassle.
Yeah. Like your perfect kid at their most perfect, at their best peak kids' performances versus everyone else in your race. And if you mixed both races, or all of them, you know what I mean? All your people or your kid.
Look, if you're mixed, then tell us if you had to choose which race to get rid of. Then
oh my God, this is gonna bring out the worst. This is gonna bring out the worst in my audience, the worst in the responses to those people. I can't wait. By the way, guys, before we get out of here, please go check out Jew by Ari Shaffir on YouTube. I think it's one of the best specials in a long time. It's definitely his best special. It's his best work. It's the pinnacle of his comedic powers.
it's so fucking good.
It's so good. It's so complete. It's educational, which I guess you don't. I guess maybe you don't want your comedy described that way, but it really is. I learned a lot about Jews that I didn't know, and I was laughing the whole time. But it's still Ari Shaffir. It's just as irreverent and dark as you would expect, but it's very honest and very, very, very well done. It's free too. It's on YouTube, so go check it out. And again, he ain't paid me to do this. He didn't ask me to do this. I just really, I was really impressed by the work, to be honest with you. So go check that out. Also, come see us in North Carolina at the Raleigh Improv, December, 1st and 2nd?
1st and 2nd, and the 3rd.
1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I'll also be at a casino in Davenport, Iowa on the 10th. Those tickets can be found at briansimpsoncomedy.com, or go to my socials and click on the link in the bio. Do it through my link tree. Both those things. And those are the last 2 shows of the year. So come fuck with me out there. And also, don't forget to tell people about the podcast. If you really want to support the podcast, just share it, like it, subscribe it, tell all the people. A lot of people, what's weird is most of the people that listen aren't subscribed, which I thought was honestly, I don't know why.
It's always the case.
Well, I don't know what subscribing does. That's the problem. Subscribing don't do what you think it's going to do, so most people don't bother. But then that's how YouTube judges. They judge you by your subscribers, even though subscribing don't mean shit. So do what you fucking want, but subscribe if you have a half a second and you have the right amount of electrical signals flowing through your nerves and all that. You just want to do that. Just do that, or tell somebody. Or
what you have to do is you have to click on subscribe, and then under the bell, you have to click all. That's how you get notified.
Okay. All right.
Automatically. If you just do it automatically, it just does personalized, and that's still using the algorithm.
Here's what I would like is, instead of them doing any of that, I would just like you to recommend the videos from people that I subscribe to more than random shit.
Agreed.
Like most people, at least I'm just assuming that most people watch YouTube the way I do. And the thing is, when I'm bored, I pull up YouTube, and those first 12 videos that's on the homepage, like 8 of them are like recommended for you, and then it's like other shit. It's like those are what I go off that. Whatever's up there, I click on some of it, and if there's nothing up there, I refresh. And then it gives me. But what they've recently started doing is, even if you refresh, they show you the same videos.
I know. I've seen that. I've noticed that. Like,
yeah, I don't know why that. Yeah, somebody at Google just like to change shit for no reason. They just like to, well, let's just do some different shit. It's like, why? Anyway, I digress. If you like my shit, like it. If you subscribe, that's great too. If you want to tell people about it, that helps me out a bunch. And I mean, pretty soon we'll do some like a membership thing and do exclusive. Because I think that's what we're gonna start doing, Rob. I think I'm gonna do the membership thing and then do those episodes where I answer all the questions, all the emails.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
So we'll figure that out. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See y'all next week.